I am a little bit disappointed to have Stevie picked ahead of me, considering that back in high school, I won the Quiz Bowl 3 years running. So,
well, of course you did, Gab.
Yeah.
What would your specialist subject be if it didn't involve football? What would you go for?
I'm pretty good on current affairs, geography, history.
Oh, just everything.
This is a well-rounded man.
It is a very well-rounded man in that.
Stevie's specialised subject was well-done steaks.
Yes, exactly. We're the best. Frank, what about you? What would your specialist subject be at a quiz?
Except sports, I would say geography or French history. Yeah.
Oh,
I love it.
Craig Burley, what would yours be?
Specialised subject?
Yes.
I don't know.
What do you know? Only Fools and Horses? Does that count?
People won't know what that is.
Well, they in the UK, it's a very famous comedy show that was in around when you were growing up.
Oh,
in
it
the
was
60s.
fantastic. Yeah, it's a bit like what would you call here the big comedy show here in the. Come on, help me out.
I don't know. No,
Anyway,
there's nothing.
no,
really
my
good
I don't know what my.
That's your subject?
I'm not. Put it one way.
Yep.
I'm not doing a pub quiz. Gab was an obvious choice.
Gab would be brilliant.
Wasn't Sid Lowe on that?
Sid was on University Challenge, which is like a very highbrow quiz, and he did terribly at it.
All right.
Yeah, very badly.
But how anybody would think Stevie would be?
Yeah, but Shaka
useful
paying attention.
In many things, really.
Okay. Frank, which team's happier with the draw, Chelsea or Manchester United?
Hard to say. Again, I say you have to be happy for Chelsea to win a game away from home at Old Trafford. But I would say Manchester United. I mean, losing a game at home after winning against Leicester, making people think that it's getting better and everything's going to be changed because Ten Hag is gone, would have been bad with the defeat. So let's say that it's better for Manchester United to have not lost that game.
Gab, Chelsea are now in the top 4 above Arsenal. Are their title chances as good as Arsenal's are now?
I mean, it really would be a feat, right? Because we tell ourselves that the teams are built over time, and it's really hard for a new manager to come in, especially in those circumstances. So no, I would still imagine that Arsenal's chances are still a little bit higher. I think it's only a couple of goals in the goal difference, or maybe a point or something, where Chelsea are ahead. So, and of course they had head-to-head this weekend. Now, obviously, if they can beat Arsenal at Stamford Bridge next Sunday, I'm not saying that's a game changer, but it certainly gives you that boost of confidence, that belief in what Maresca's doing. But let's also remind yourself that the Chelsea squad, and I've said it all along, I've said it in bad times, I'll happily repeat it in good times, is inevitably quite thin in certain positions, primarily up front, where it's Nico Jackson, and then you get into players like Nkunku or whatever, who are great players, but are very different from what Nico Jackson provides. And also, I think, this team rides Cole Palmer probably more than they should, and God forbid something should happen to him. I think defensively there's questions too. There's questions with the keeper. Anybody can poke holes, but I think it's the experience and the chemistry that you've built up over several years, which Arsenal have, which Chelsea do not have at this point, that can make a difference and help you overcome those rough patches.
To that point, Craig, with the size of the Chelsea squad and talent, what would be considered a success for them this season?
Top 4.
Top 4?
Chelsea are not in the title race. Arsenal will be. Chelsea are not. It's too big it's way too big a hurdle. There's too many hurdles for them to jump from where they've been. Things are going much better than I think many of us thought at the start of the season, but they're not in the title race. So if they finish in the top 4, of course it's progression, that would be stating the obvious because of where they finished last year. But it then opens some more financial windows for them as well, and some gravitas of the Champions League and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, if they finish 4th, which I think is the best they can achieve, that would be good.
If anyone can help me for the question later on that's coming up, could you tell me how many goals Haaland, Kane and Lewandowski have got so far this season? Thank you very much. Do you think that Hansi Flick's Barca can win a treble this year, Gab?
I think that would be such, yeah, sure, they can. Will they? I think it's highly unlikely. I was listening before to what Ali and Luis Garcia were saying about Barcelona and, all the offsides against them, and now it's touch and go. We saw it again today. I think Flick needs to give them, for them to have a shot at doing that, Flick needs to give them a different dimension as well, another way of playing that they can go to, so they don't rely on the high defensive line. I think he can do that now that, some of the injured guys are back. Obviously, Frankie de Jong back, Christensen on his way back. You can use him in certain games in that role. Obviously, Gavi and Pedri give you different options going forward. You can rely on that. But again, this is a team that's thin in certain positions. It's a minor miracle that they are where they are right now. They're definitely favorites to win La Liga. I think they can go deep in Europe, but when you're talking treble, really everything needs to fall into place for you to win the treble in your first season. And I think I'm right in saying I think the only person who's done it was actually Barcelona. Way back when was it Luis Enrique won it. So that's kind of where you set the bar, and he had that Lionel Messi guy who I think was pretty good.
I know people need to ask questions because this is what we do. Yep. This is the segment.
Yes.
For questions, some of them better than others.
Right.
But why do people? This is typical, isn't it? Barcelona were last year defensively a shambles. Or Xavi got sacked. He was late. It was a mess, right? Not to say it's not still a mess in some sense behind the scenes, but it's certainly not a mess on the field. Why is this? Why is it always like a treble or a quad? It's like with Man City, it's a quadruple. With Liverpool, it was a quadruple.
That's exciting. Anyway,
it's like you just win. Just try and win the league again. Right. Just try and win the league. Yep. People just never happy. Right. Is that a double?
Manchester United. What would be a success at Amorim, Frank? Top 4?
Oh, that would be a miracle. That wouldn't be a success. Come on. We are talking about a team in the second part of the table right now, and if they are two, let's say, good games, they're far away from finishing in the top 4. We are already questioning Aston Villa, Chelsea, Nottingham Forest, Brighton, maybe Tottenham to finish in the top 4. So I think it's easy to say that Manchester United is still very far from those teams. I'm not even talking about the first, second, and third spot. We are already dedicated to City, Liverpool, and Arsenal in maybe different order. But no, I don't. I think it would be fantastic for Amorim. Doubtful for me, unlikely. I would say if they finish in the top 8, that would be great.
Again, another one of those questions.
Gab, predictions for Arsenal against Inter at the San Siro.
It's a tough one because both these teams coming into it a bit bruised and battered. I'm just to see if Martin Odegaard comes back in. Let me put it this way: I think a draw actually is a sort of result that would probably suit both sides at this stage. I think if you're Arsenal, I'm not saying you look past somebody, but given the format of the Champions League, I think that game at Chelsea at the weekend in some ways becomes more important. You want to be in a situation where maybe you give Odegaard a few minutes in midweek so that he's ready to start against Chelsea, ideally. You do not want to be in a situation where you go into the break having lost at Stamford Bridge, maybe even having lost in midweek at San Siro. And so I'm tempted to say everything points to a draw here.
Well, I think the best to get at the San Siro is a draw, the way they've been playing at the moment. But I do agree. I think the Chelsea game is bigger.
Yes.
We don't expect Man City they don't slip up too often back to back. Arsenal don't, to be fair as well, haven't really, but they're looking more susceptible. If Liverpool win again, that gap's even bigger. So the Chelsea game is huge in terms of their title challenge. So he's got some thinking to do about what he does with the Champions League and his team that he puts out. We may see him play a less energetic game in terms of the way they approach it. We've seen Arsenal over the past 18 months in particular, high press, lots of energy, try and throttle teams. Maybe they'll just try and play a little bit more defensive to turn into a bit of sting out of it, and have to do less running, bearing in mind what they have coming up at the weekend. But Chelsea's a big game for them, huge game at the weekend.
Gab, is Raphinha the best Brazilian player at the moment?
Ooh, good question. I don't want to make the Vinicius fans angry, so
They might boycott the Gab and Jules show.
I'm sure they. I don't know. I mean, Ederson's a footballer too, right? He's pretty good, even though he's a goalkeeper.
No, he hasn't done much.
I think without question. I think Raphinha has been out of this world this season. Everybody knows the story with him, his past. I think it just goes to show that, you know, we are so quick to sometimes write people off, you know, based on his ups and downs when he was, but you know, when he was at Leeds, based on the fact that he, you know, when he arrived in Barcelona, he didn't immediately turn into Ronaldinho. For me, he's been Barca's best player this season. Is he the very best Brazilian player in the world? I don't know. I mean, over what time frame? What are we
at the moment?
at?
At the moment, they say, Gab. So at this precise moment, November 3rd, whatever it is,
I think
in
form would be a...
At this precise moment, I would probably rather have Vinicius.
Wow.
If it was a game being played next week, I would rather have Vini than Raphinha. How's that?
If I was playing against Vinicius, right, I mean, I wouldn't like to be honest, but I think all game, I'd just say to him, you're never going to win the Ballon d'Or.
Just Rodri.
All game, like constant, until he just blew up and threw a punch at me and got sent off. It is a brilliant mind games, because, you know, he's shown, I say this tongue-in-cheek, but actually it's not. Because when you show that emotional side and how frustrated you are, that lights a fire, it should do, with other players.
Right.
Because it's not a fair game when you're playing Real Madrid if you're some of the smaller teams in La Liga or Barcelona. So you've got to find a way. You've got to find a way to stop their best players. And one of those is to get in their head.
Yeah.
Which, as we know, Vinicius Junior in particular, he sometimes lets these emotions just boil over. And we know that Ballon d'Or now is so much in his mindset. I would be in his head constantly. I'd even ask him to sign a Rodri, one of those little stickers of Rodri before the game. Sign that, will you, Ballon d'Or winner?
Frank, with over a quarter way through the season, do you want to reorder your top four finish? So you had Liverpool finishing top, yeah?
Where did he have Canada?
Yes, Canada is back in the World Cup.
Yeah, and then City, Arsenal, and did I pick Chelsea?
Not sure.
I can't remember.
I think I did.
Yeah, you happy with that?
I don't remember as well. I'm very happy with that.
Beautiful.
And so far, I'm pretty good.
Right.
I'm pretty good.
Final question. Craig, rank in order. Who will score the most goals this season in all competitions? Erling Haaland, who's got 14 at the moment. Harry Kane, who's got 17 at the moment. And Lewandowski, who's also got 17 at the moment.
Well, I think the obvious answer from the last year or so would be Haaland, would it not?
Haaland?
Well, that would have been... I mean, I can't remember how many he got last year, but it was a scary amount. But I'm going to say... I'm going to say Harry Kane. Because I think he will still score a boatload in the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
A continuation of last year for him. And maybe it'll be a little bit more of a struggle for City this year and for Erling Haaland, not to be bad. And I'm going to go Kane, Haaland, and then Lewandowski.
Gab?
Lewandowski's 36, and you'd have to, you have to recognize that time is undefeated, and you would expect him to drop off a little bit. Kane might score more goals per game, but he's got 4 fewer games to play with in the Bundesliga. And also I would expect City probably to go further in Europe than Bayern. So I'm going to lean Erling Haaland.
Frank, would you like to give your final pennies on this one?
Yeah, let's go. I will go for Haaland for exactly the same reason that Gab gave, and because I just want Kane to win a trophy before the end of his career. So, but Haaland, Kane, and Lewandowski.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Didn't make much sense, but nothing much does on this show. ESPN FC will be back